Your Ford is quietly draining your bank account, and it's not because Ford builds junk. It's because most owners are following so-called maintenance wisdom that was true 20 years ago and is dead wrong on modern Fords. The scary part is these myths don't blow things up overnight. They work slowly, they feel responsible, and by the time the bill hits, you're convinced the vehicle just had bad luck, when the real problem was the advice you trusted. I've seen the same pattern over and over. Healthy engines that should have gone 200,000 miles start eating timing components early. Transmissions that could have lived a long, quiet life start shifting rough at 70,000. Turbos fail, not from abuse, but from careful habits that actually create the worst operating conditions. Today we're exposing 5 Ford maintenance myths that are costing owners thousands. Myth number 4 is especially brutal on EcoBoost turbos. Myth number 2 quietly cooks transmissions. And myth number 1 is so common that most owners doing it swear they are taking better than average care of their truck. Let's get into it. Myth number 4 is the idea that changing your oil way earlier than Ford recommends can only help. People say oil is cheap, engines are expensive, so some owners do 3,000-mile oil changes religiously, even on newer trucks running full synthetic oil. Here is the problem. Modern Ford engines are engineered around specific oil chemistry and a specific oil specification, not just fresh oil. On EcoBoost engines especially, oil is not only there to lubricate bearings, it plays a major role in variable valve timing systems and components like cam phasers, and it has to survive turbo heat without breaking down. When you constantly dump oil early, you are not magically giving the engine extra protection. You are often just spending extra money while ignoring the things that actually matter more. Using the correct specification oil, seeing real operating temperature regularly, and not driving in ways that contaminate the oil. Overchanging can also backfire because people treat it like an insurance policy and then get sloppy everywhere else. They will do frequent oil changes, but run the wrong viscosity, cheap filters, or off-brand oil that does not meet the right Ford specification. Or they will do short trip driving all week, never letting the engine fully heat soak, and assume 3,000-mile changes cancel out the damage. They do not. If you want to protect a modern Ford engine, the biggest win is the correct oil specification and correct driving habits, not blindly cutting the interval in half for no reason. Myth number 3 is one that destroys transmissions quietly. People still say never change transmission fluid unless there is a problem. They say it is sealed for life. They warn that if you change it, it will start slipping. That myth has cost Ford owners more rebuilds than aggressive driving ever has. Transmission fluid is not magic. It breaks down with heat. It carries microscopic clutch material. It loses its friction modifiers over time. Leaving it in forever does not preserve your transmission. It slowly starves the transmission of the protection it needs. The reason this myth refuses to die is that changing fluid on a transmission that is already worn out can expose existing problems. Then owners blame the fluid change, when the reality is the damage happened during the 80,000 miles of neglected fluid. On modern Ford 6-speed transmissions, and especially the 10-speed transmission, fluid condition matters a lot. Harsh shifting, shuddering, and delayed engagement often start when fluid is cooked, not when hard parts are broken. A simple service at the right mileage can prevent the gradual wear that turns into a $4,000 rebuild later. If you want your transmission to last, treat the fluid like what it is, a service item, not a lifetime promise. Myth number 2 sounds harmless, but it quietly ruins engines. Let your Ford idle to warm up and let it idle to cool down. That advice made sense when engines were carbureted and finicky. Modern fuel-injected Fords do not need it, and EcoBoost engines are the worst ones to do it too. Extended idling creates the perfect conditions for contamination. The engine sits at low load, lower temperature, and inefficient combustion. That means more moisture, more fuel dilution, and more residue making its way into the oil. Over time, the oil's protective film gets weaker, and the wear you were trying to avoid starts accelerating. Direct injection makes it worse because it allows carbon buildup to happen faster under the wrong conditions. Long idling and constant short trips are a carbon factory. Owners later complain about rough idle, misfires, and loss of power, and they end up paying for carbon cleaning services they did not even know existed. Turbos do not love it either. At idle, they are not moving much air, oil flow and temperature balance are not ideal, and you are basically heating things without doing useful work. If it is cold, your best warm-up is gentle driving after 30 seconds, not sitting in the driveway for 15 minutes. If you are just waiting somewhere, shutting the engine off is usually better than letting it idle. The truck warms up faster while driving, burns cleaner, and keeps the oil healthier. Now, myth number 1 is the big one. Generic maintenance rules are safer than Ford's specific recommendations. This is where owners get destroyed because they think they are being smart. They follow advice like thicker oil is better, coolant lasts forever, differentials do not need service, or just do what you have always done. Modern Fords are not built around guesswork. They are built around tight tolerances, specific fluid chemistries, and systems that depend on those fluids behaving a certain way. EcoBoost engines are a perfect example. The wrong oil specification can accelerate timing wear and create phaser noise. Mixing coolants or ignoring coolant intervals can corrode components from the inside out, leading to radiator, heater core, or water pump failures that feel random, but are not. Transfer cases and differentials are another silent killer. Those fluids shear and degrade, especially if you tow or use four-wheel drive, and ignoring them is how you end up with expensive driveline repairs that could have been prevented with a routine service. They tested what actually keeps these systems alive. The trucks that run forever are not just lucky. They are maintained, not obsessively, not negligently, but correctly. And if any of these myths sound like something you have been doing, do not panic. Most owners do. The important part is fixing it now, because the next myth we are about to expose is the one that feels like common sense, and it is quietly killing engines without ever lighting up a warning on your dashboard. Here is part 2, and this is where it gets uncomfortable because this myth feels like common sense. It is the one people defend the hardest, and it is the one that quietly kills engines without ever throwing a check engine light. Myth number 5 is the belief that if your Ford is not throwing warning lights or making noise, everything must be fine. This mindset costs owners more money than almost any single mechanical failure, because modern Fords are extremely good at hiding problems until damage is already done. Older vehicles gave you warnings early. You would hear ticking, knocking, rattling, slipping. Modern Ford engines and transmissions are computer managed, oil pressure compensated, and software smoothed. They can be wearing themselves out internally while still feeling normal from the driver's seat. By the time a warning light comes on, the issue is rarely minor. Take timing systems on EcoBoost engines. Cam phasers do not usually fail all at once. They wear slowly. Oil passages start to varnish. Actuation becomes inconsistent. The engine computer compensates. Cold starts might sound slightly rough, but it goes away. Owners ignore it because it still runs fine. Then one day, the rattle does not go away. Now you are staring at a multi-thousand-dollar repair that could have been delayed or avoided with earlier intervention. Transmission issues are even worse. Ford's adaptive transmissions learn your driving habits and adjust shift behavior to hide problems. Harsh shifts, delayed engagement, or shuttering often get smoothed out by software temporarily. Meanwhile, clutch packs are slipping more than they should, fluid is overheating, and wear accelerates. By the time you feel it consistently, the damage is already baked in. Cooling system problems follow the same pattern. Coolant does not just disappear or suddenly fail, it slowly loses corrosion inhibitors. Internal passages start to scale. Heat transfer becomes less efficient. The temperature gauge stays normal because it is heavily damped by design. Then one day you are overheating under load, blowing a hose, or cooking a water pump. Owners swear it came out of nowhere. It did not. It was just quiet. This myth is reinforced by how modern vehicles are marketed. Smooth, silent, low maintenance. Nobody wants to hear that your truck needs attention even when it feels fine. But real longevity does not come from waiting for warnings. It comes from understanding that wear happens before symptoms. Now let us tie all of this together, because this is where Ford owners get trapped. They combine these myths. They overchange oil but idle constantly. They ignore transmission service because it shifts okay. They follow generic advice instead of Ford-specific guidance. And they trust warning lights to tell them when to act. Each choice seems reasonable on its own. Together they create the perfect storm for early failure. This is why you see such a massive difference between two identical trucks with similar mileage. One feels tight, smooth, and strong at 150,000 miles. The other feels tired, noisy, and unpredictable at 80,000 miles. It is not luck. It is not that one was built on a Friday. It is a maintenance philosophy. Here's what actually saves Ford owners money long-term. First, stop treating maintenance like superstition. More is not always better, and less is not always cheaper. Follow Ford's intervals, but understand what severe duty actually means. If you tow, idle, drive short trips, or sit in traffic regularly, you are on a severe duty schedule whether you like it or not. Second, fluids matter more than people realize. Not just engine oil, but transmission fluid, coolant, differential fluid, and transfer case fluid. These do not fail loudly, they fail chemically. By the time the mechanical parts complain, the fluid has been done for a long time. Third, behavior matters just as much as service. How you warm up, how you shut down, how you use drive modes, how often you idle, all of it affects longevity. You cannot service away bad operating habits with extra oil changes. Fourth, stop waiting for warning lights. Pay attention to small changes, cold start behavior, shift quality, fuel economy changes, subtle vibrations. These are early signals, not annoyances to ignore. And finally, understand that modern Fords are incredibly capable, but they are also engineered systems. They reward owners who work with the design instead of fighting it with outdated advice. If any of these myths hit a little too close to home, that is a good thing. It means you caught it early. Most people do not. They learn when the estimate comes back from the shop and the number does not even feel real. If this video saved you from even one unnecessary repair, hit the like button so other Ford owners see it. Subscribe if you want more real-world breakdowns like this, not dealership fluff or internet myths. And drop a comment telling me which one of these you believed, because chances are you are not the only one. In the next video, we are going to break down the specific Ford services that look expensive up front, but save you the most money long-term, and the ones you can safely skip without hurting your truck at all. I will see you there.